We acknowledge this gathering and unceded ancestral and contemporary lands of the Chinooka people and the Cowans Indian tribe. We pay our respect and gratitude to the indigenous peoples of this land, past, present, and future. With this acknowledgement, we commit ourselves to continued education, accountability, and social justice.
Thank you. When we use the mic here, we need to hold it pretty close to us so everyone in this room can hear, and those on Zoom. We think we have the technical issues solved for today, but today only because we're sure that next month things will change. Okay, Mary Schick, if you would talk to us a little bit about these fabulous signs. I gave them to family members. I use them in my yard. Love them.
Thank you, Nancy. Actually, I want to talk to you first and remind you that there's an
oh, sorry.
Special election, February 14th. You should see your ballots by February 2nd. And what's on the ballot are all levies. So Vancouver residents will see a levy for affordable housing. And Vancouver School District, Washougal, and Woodland, those three districts will also have levies on the ballot. So if you're in Battleground, perhaps you won't get a ballot. So just be aware of that. Friends and neighbors to vote. And as part of that, we encourage you to get out the vote by putting out your Be a Voter signs. You can put them in your yard. You can put them in your neighbor's yard. You can put them on the street corners. And as Tracy Riley Kelly did, she put it out in front of her church, or you can put it in a business. And if you don't have a yard, you can always just put it in your window in your house. We have some of the signs here today, and today only we are suggested to $5. So if you're interested in any of the yard signs, come see me before the end of the meeting, or make a note in the chat that you're interested, and we'll get you yard signs. Thank you.
What a deal. Wow. Better be all gone by the end. That is a wonderful deal. Thank you, Mary.
Yes.
Anna, can you say a word or two about logging in our volunteer hours? I'm sure everyone is up to date on that.
Good morning. I'm sure everyone's excited about this, right? Well, I just wanted you to know that, sending in or reporting your volunteer hours is important, and it actually goes towards our mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. And so I really encourage you to, it does make a difference, and it is actually working towards our goal just by turning in your volunteer hours. A few of the things that those hours can make a difference is sometimes the leagues, Washington or national, go to court that as evidence of supporting whatever that court case is that they can pull from the information we're turning in. Also, we can get grants supported because it shows that we're doing our part and serious about something that we're interested in, and we can apply for grants and have that evidence. It's great publicity too. We can show how hard our league is working and what we're doing. And as a local league, we can set goals by looking at the data that comes in. So I don't know, it makes a huge difference. So please go to the website and report your hours. Thank you. Any questions or anything?
Thanks, Anna. There'll be a little blurb in the upcoming voter, and it will go over the directions again It's a very simple process. And a reminder for those of you who are election observers, you do need to record your own volunteer hours. It's not doing that for you. Jackie Lane, could you talk to us about Lobby Week? Very important event coming up.
And I have a question because I'm embarrassingly remiss on logging hours. Do you want us to go back to last year or just start being good this year? Okay, she said this year. So Lobby Week is February 2nd through 6th. We are starting to arrange the meetings with our legislators. There's usually only about 15 minutes, but we have some prep work. They will be doing, I have not seen a schedule for what the state league will be doing, but there'll be some events, at least Monday and Tuesday, right, Susan? Oh, cool. When do we have that schedule? Do you know? When do you know when we'll have the schedule?
Yeah, this event comes up so fast that we really have trouble keeping up with it. But basically, Monday morning, the normal ACT program. You can't hear me? Okay. Thank you. Monday morning, as part of the general ACT online program, is going to be how a bill becomes a law. Then Monday evening, starting at 5 o'clock, it's going to be probably a 3-hour program where we talk about the whole week. Linnell is going to have a panel of legislators to talk about a bunch of different things and just kind of general how the week is going to go. And then Tuesday we have, oh gosh, I hope I can remember this. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have programs on specific topics. We're going to have a program on proportional representation, which includes ranked choice voting. We're going to have a program on health care, including behavioral health. We're going to have a program on climate, a program on what we call social and economic policy, which includes a whole lot of things. And Friday, of course, we'll have a wrap up. Redistricting is going to be in there also. Some of you probably know that Allison McCaffrey, who runs our redistricting effort, she started this huge campaign, which is going to end, we hope, in 2027, with an amendment to the Constitution. So she's going to talk about that. It's going to be a really great program. I hope you can come.
Thank you. And so if you get the things from the state or from our local league, you will have seen ways to sign up. They ask for $5, but I don't think it's absolutely required. But yes, please sign up online. We have people setting up meetings with legislators in 17th, 18th, and 49th. We're trying to reach out to Cowlitz League. So the 20th, I don't know if we have any members here in the 20th LD. In the past, we've had few, but the 20th has come down to cover Ridgefield, so we may have some this year, but I'm not entirely sure what's happening with the 20th yet. But if we have anybody in the 20th who wants to participate, we will make sure we figure that out. And then, so that's Lobby Week. And then Growth Management Act. The county is doing a GMA overview or GMA 101. On January 19th at 1:30 to 3:30. You can get more information about that at clark.wa.gov. They have announcements over on the left side, and so you can find that pretty easily. I'll be in Costa Rica, so I'll be catching this on replay, but I think it's a really important thing. Growth Management Act, as you all know, I'm kind of land crazy, is going to be worked on by the county and cities between now and 2025 when it's due. It's one of those things that can have a huge impact on all our lives, whether the property you're on or next to is urban or rural, whether it's industrial or housing, what the density is. So this is a really, really important thing. So I encourage people to sit in on that. That's it.
Thanks. I want to say a few more words about Lobby Week. For those of you that are not familiar with it, you do go to the state website to sign up to participate in Lobby Week, and that gets you into the meetings during the week on the state level. Jackie does need assistance with knowing who from our league would like to either help with making an appointment with our legislators. They do expect to be contacted. In the past, we have had very good response from almost all of our legislators. So they know that this is coming. We just have to have someone be willing to contact them. And then there need to be 2 or 3 of us that attend the meetings. So Jackie does need a commitment once we get the interviews set up during that week for members who, yeah, I am a constituent of LD 17 and I would like to sit in on this meeting. You don't have to be the leader of it. They pretty much know what we're going to come talk to them about. And so it is, and it's another way of developing a relationship with our legislators. Yes, you can add to what I'm saying.
So I live in the 18th, and I've already started coordinating there. You're going to be helping a little bit initially with 17th, but I could use a lead in the 17th and I could use a lead in the 49th. So if you are interested in that, my email is jm as in Marie Lane at msn.com, and maybe you can put that in the chat. And I will be coordinating when we have our leads, you know, working with people to kind of pre-prep for our meetings with the legislators, and then also to get like a wrap up so we can see what we learned when we were in those. So I will be trying to help everybody so nobody's on their own. I've done this a few times, so it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed this event.
Jackie will be here after the meeting to talk to people. And Dan, you had a question?
We do. We have Waters. I can't remember his name. First name Steve Waters in the 17th. Kevin Waters in the 17th. Stephanie McClintock and Greg Cheney are new in the 18th. So yeah, and I've met the ones in the 18th, and so it is a really great opportunity to let them know who we are. Thank you for that. Yes, it's all online. So yep. And then as soon as we get the meeting, well, they haven't got the meetings within Lobby Week out set up yet online. And then as soon as we have the legislator meet and greets or meetings, we'll get those posted somewhere.
Okay, again, Jackie will be here after the meeting to for you to get more details and to let her know that you're willing to assist in some way. All right, thank you very much. Okay, Deanne, it's up to you now. You want to from back there or up here? People can probably hear you better up here. Okay, before you get started, since she's up front, I think that this gal and Sally Dale, stand up. The news study is getting amazing coverage, amazing chatter, and we're really thrilled about that. It's incredible what this committee has done. Just want to let them know we're very proud of them. And so
Thank you, Nancy. I forget, what's the date we're doing consensus? This is a good time to. February 27th, Sally and I are.
You're fine.
Sally and I are going to be resources as the whole Clark County League looks at our study and discusses the consensus questions. It will be online on February 27, and we're looking forward to that. Right now, Sally and I and the other 8 members of our committee are serving as resources as the other, I don't know, upwards of the 20 leagues throughout the state are looking at the consensus, and we're hoping that people will get behind it and we'll get a good public policy approved by the board and then membership at the annual convention. This is an important issue about how local newspapers, the decline of local newspapers is really seriously impacting so much about our communities and in fact, our democracy. And if you have a chance, please do look at the study. There's a short version, there's a cheat sheet in there called Quick Takes. So if you're not able to read the whole study, you can look at a Cliff Notes version. I'm gonna stop talking about that. I am representing the communications team and a couple of things what we're up doing right now. We're looking at revisiting the TRI. They represent you, and I'm hoping that Sharon can call up a copy. Some of you, or many of you, are familiar with it's a trifold, fourfold document that simply lists all of our elected officials and contact information. And we're talking about, from president down to not quite dog catcher, but special district elected officials throughout Clark County. And this is a document that's, we're in the process of revisiting it and looking at a new layout, maybe making it a little easier to read. And we're updating it with email addresses as well. What we're looking for are people who are willing to help distribute the TRI. We make it available online, but we also print it out. And I know we had a couple of people volunteering to help take it to different locations. Actually, maybe we should talk about locations. We're looking for people to suggest ideas where we might leave this document. Right now, we leave it at local local library branches, and that's been a very popular location. Judy Stanton has been chairing this effort for years, and that's been a tried and true location, right, Judy? Some folks suggested the fire departments or fire district offices for locations. Do you have any thoughts where you might suggest, Jackie? City halls, community centers, aren't you're writing this down, right, Jackie? I mean, Sharon?
I'll
Okay.
try, but it's hard being tech. Okay, thanks.
Okay, city halls, Edry. Farmers market, oh, that would be an idea. Anywhere else?
Nina on Zoom says, schools.
Schools, Sarah? I'm sorry? High schools in particular? The food bank, okay, and retirement centers? Churches, some churches might be willing to do this, okay.
WSU.
WSU, Clark College, maybe in the Student Affairs Center, not in the Chamber of Commerce. Great ideas. And again, this is a print copy, but we also make it available online. The next thing we're looking for are people who will are interested in volunteering to help distribute these to these locations. I know Joe Waddell said she is available to do so, and I think Karen Brown did too. Any others who would? Mimi Lara, Sarah, and I kept. Oh, Lynn. Okay, and Jackie Lane too. Well, thank you. We're in the process of getting this redesigned, and we hope to get it out before too long here. I'm going to move right along here. I'm asking Sharon to call up this. You're familiar with the League website, the Club Express. We want to really encourage people to subscribe to our news blog. This is something you can do. You'll get quick, and these are very short little blurbs about things that are happening, immediately. So, for instance, when it was settled that we were going to sponsor the debate for the 3rd Congressional District, we got a quick little, I think, 4-paragraph story up there, news blurb out there, and people received it right away in their emails. So we encourage you to register for this, and Sharon, I think, is showing us how easy it is to do that.
I'm a little slow right now.
Okay,
So
you go to, no, go to LWVCC News in the blue bar, one over right there, click there, and you can click on any of these posts, and then you can see she is already subscribed. So, well, she's unsubscribing to show you how to subscribe. It's pretty straightforward. You hit subscribe, and that's it. So you'll get these, and I promise you, they're not long, things to read. They're just quick, 4 paragraphs at most. If you would do that, that helps us keep people informed when things are happening between editions of the Voter. Jackie, Sharon.
one of the things I wanted to show you guys is that the voters are located in documents. And you come down here near the bottom and you can see the voters for 2022. So this is archived copies.
Sharon is showing us that you can also get archived copies of the voter, our monthly newsletter, under documents on the website. So we publish them. They're sent to you on the last day of every month. And then also you can on MailChimp. And then you can also, if you go, oh wait, I remember reading about that, they're all archived on the website as well. Mimi, did you have a question or did we answer it?
This,
Okay, great. Questions? Right now we have 153 member subscribers to the voter. And this month we sent it out on January 1, figuring people might be busy on December 31. We had 91 members who opened the link. We don't know how long they spent on the link or reading it. And sometimes, frankly, it is way too long. And so our comm team is looking at ways to make it a little more reader friendly. You know, maybe we can trim it some, but everybody has something to say. So it's really hard to do that. I also want to encourage you, we're busy on social media. Some of you are participants, some of you not so. And Sharon is going to show us our Facebook site. Liz Backstrom, who is a newer member, and she's on her way. She went to the CDM services on Broadway. There's another building. Apparently, she Googled that on maps. And
An old site.
okay, well, okay. Anyway, she is really the point person on our social media. She's been keeping us busy. She and I do Facebook posts. We have 942 followers and 843 people who've liked our page. And I think Sharon is taking you to our Facebook website,
yeah,
our Facebook page.
if you bookmark, you know, because everybody should have it bookmarked. I have it like on my bar and I'm in there all the time. But once you're on the page, you can get to Facebook, you can get to Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever you want. Very easy in this corner.
Sharon is pointing out that
Right
this
now-
page isn't working.
Instagram's broken right now, but
How you can link to those social media sites right from the website. So she's showing us the Twitter site. Let's see. Our Twitter page, we have 97 followers and we are following 92 other accounts. Our followers include Representative Marie Glusenkamp Perez, Troy Brin Nelson from OPB, Mark Bowder, who's the Metro editor at the Columbian. So they're interested in what we're posting as well. And hope you will, if you still indulge in Twitter, you'll consider following. I know it's a mixed bag.
and if you click on YouTube, this is where you can find membership meetings that you missed.
If you click on YouTube, you can see the membership meetings are posted up there, the videos of them if you missed that. Did you say our Instagram is down?
Yep.
Our Instagram is down, but otherwise I would show you that. Our followers on Instagram include former candidate for the state legislature, John Zingale, and Sharon Brown. So I hope you will consider registering for some of those pages. On Instagram, we have 414 followers. A lot of them are other leagues throughout the country. Questions? And when Liz gets here, please acknowledge her efforts. She's new and she's just jumping in there, and she's younger and really a social media person. If you haven't met her, I haven't met her in person. She lives here in Vancouver, but works remotely for the YWCA in Spokane, where she and her husband lived for a long time. She's a grant writer for the Y. So I think she's probably, looks like maybe she's pulling in. That's all we have. Questions? And feedback, if you have feedback about the voter, about maybe you think it's too long too, how we can trim it and yet still get information, I'm happy to take your information. My email is at the bottom of the voter too.
We're all done?
Excellent recap. The communications committee works very hard to get information out to us. And I have to put another plug in for the blog notifications. Your leadership, your community, your committee chairs work very hard to make sure that we get the information out. We have 153 members. We know that your interests are varied, but knowing that you have signed up for a blog notification does take some of the pressure off of us and should we send it out another email and fill up somebody's inbox? We really don't want to do that. So you would be helping a great deal if you signed up, when you sign up for the blog notification. They are short, they are to the point, and I just encourage you to do that. It's well worth it.
They are short.
Mary just added, they're short, to the point, short and sweet, and we do not get very many of them. Anyone else? Okay. Before we get into the work of the day, the play for the day, there are a few announcements and reminders. Sharon is our wonderful treasurer, and she does an amazing job. And each year we need to review the budget. And so she's looking for one more person to assist in the budget review, or on the budget review committee. We're not looking at a lot of time. We're not looking at a lot of work, but it's in our bylaws. We do need one more person on that budget review committee. So please contact her if you are at all interested. The nominating committee, the board met on Thursday. We are starting the work of nominating individuals for the upcoming elections in May. And we need one more person for the nominating committee in order to fill the requirements of the bylaws. Also, not a long period of time. It does involve contacting members and strategizing leadership models, because we may have a new leadership model come May. So we're looking for one more person who would like to serve on that. Right now we have Jane Johnson, Sharon Brown, Meg McNicholas, and Ellie Hutton, and we would like to have one more. The birthday party is in February, so our membership meeting will be here in person only, and we will have a brunch. So instead of our holiday party, just take all that information from the holiday party and put it in February for the League 103rd birthday. So 10 a.m. brunch. Please bring a meal item to share. The League will provide beverages, and the paper and utilities, or utensils and that type of thing. And Tracy Riley Kelly is going to give us, I don't know if you'd call them snippets or jewels or gems from our history. So she's been working with our historical items in quite a long process, and so she has some great stories to share about past League activities. Also, since I just mentioned Tracy, on March 21st, March 1st. Yeah, we'll get the exact date. She and Liz Backstrom will be presenting at the Clark County Historical Museum on the League, and it's the League in history. They're going to be concentrating more on older history, but it's part of the museum speaker series. And in the February voter, we have a very exciting announcement coming out. We're still in the process of signing paperwork. You will all be thrilled with our association with the museum. Okay. Hi. Liz Backstrom, thank you so much for all of the work that you do with our social media, with our tech help. Liz wrote one of our recent op-eds. It was before the election in November, and we appreciate all of the skills and talents that you bring. She's She's the one that Haley Fields is the one we direct our YouTube information to. Have I forgotten anything of immediate that we talked about at the board meeting? Okay, wonderful. So thank you for your patience. Let's get down to the real reason we're here today. Each year, the League, nationally, state, and locally, asks us to do program planning. Now, program planning could be very formal, it could be very relaxed. In the past, our league has been somewhat relaxed. We have simply identified areas, issues that members are interested in. And then we have tailored programs, speakers for the coming year. And that's what we're involved in today. We would like you to gather in groups. If you see paper and pencil on the tables, we have sorry for the delay. We have Mary Schick and Liz Backstrom, Jackie Lane, to assist with being a moderator. We have Sharon Brown, who's going to moderate.
Actually, Mary Austin Seymour is gonna help me with that.
Okay, all right. Mary Austin Seymour and Sharon are going to work with moderating the Zoom. And I don't see Melanie. Okay.
Oh, Melanie's sick.
Yeah, Melanie.
She's on Zoom right now.
Right.
She has a cold or
So you
something.
can have 2 people to a table, you can have 6 people to a table, whatever you are comfortable with. And if you don't have a moderator at your table, then I'm sure that you all can handle it yourself, and I will travel around. So what we would like you to do is identify issues that are important to you. Now, you may think that it's a national issue and you want to work on it, or it's a state issue, or it's local. But it's something that you believe it is important for the league to take up. It's important for us to at least talk about, maybe get a panel going, a community forum, a forum internally with just the league, speakers, pursuing education, a civics program at the library. So put your thinking caps on. What's important to you? And what are some ideas that you have about exploring that? And it's very important that if you have an idea that you think that the league should work on, along with that should, is that you be willing to help. If you think it's a should, then you can't expect us, the rest of us, to do all the work. And, you know, having a panel or a speaker or doing some education on something, there are many, many parts to that, and they can be broken into very small pieces. We just need help with the small pieces, because once we take care of those, the event it's a done deal. Any questions on the process? Deanna?
Will we report back?
Yeah, thanks. We're going to start with 20 minutes. If you want more time, then please take more time. If you're done after 20 minutes, then we will have each group go, okay, we have narrowed it down to 3. Our table or our group, our 2 tables, these are the 3 items that we believe are the most important, okay? And present this to the group. And then as a whole, the goal for today is to come to an agreement on 3 issues. So it may be that, you know, there are 9 tables, that 7 come up with one, the same one. You know, we don't know, it could be 9 different choices, but that's the goal. Your table, brainstorm, come up with 3, and then of all the 3, all the tables with their 3, that we come to an agreement on what are the top 3. Mary?
Can you guys still hear? I'm sorry, I was getting ready for the meeting.
Right, right. Just because we have the idea, or you have the idea, It doesn't mean that you have to be responsible for it. We have a lot of people to work in the league. Doesn't mean that you have to be the one to speak on it. Is that? Okay, all right. So I'm going to go through a short list. So an example, the state league has identified 4 issues for the legislative session. Now, this is not program of work, this is legislative session. So they are focusing on elections, money in politics, redistricting, and education. Okay, very large topics. Once we get a large topic, we can narrow it down. Here are some that might affect locally. Homelessness, the Growth Management Act, healthcare, all sorts of healthcare, behavioral, childcare, maternity care, women's reproduction and reproductive rights can come under healthcare. Crime, drug use, human trafficking. Clark County, unfortunately, is quite a hub for human trafficking. Voting rights, threats to voting, misinformation, ranked choice voting, climate change, all aspects of education, education funding, the I-5 bridge, the third bridge, civility in government, and then aging and senior issues. So that's healthcare, that's living, that's, or excuse me, that's a homelessness of seniors and senior living, those aging in place, those types of things. Do not limit yourself to what I've just said. Those are just suggestions, and you will probably come up with something that's probably better. So have at it and enjoy the process. This is supposed to be fun and an exchange of ideas. Any questions? Okay, so some of you that are just in 2s and 3s, you might want to get together with another table.
Okay, so Zoom group, can you all hear me? Good. So because we're on Zoom and it's a little different than working face to face, I would really like to try to give everybody the chance to suggest one idea or one issue, I should say. And then if you have some specific suggestions about what you'd like to see with that particular issue. If not, I mean, at this point, I just like to throw a bunch of issues out there. And I thought, hi Sharon, I'd like to do it in a round robin fashion where I'll go around. If you don't want to participate, that's okay. But I'd like to just hear one issue from everybody before we have any general discussion. And then when we have the general discussion, hopefully we'll come to some consensus about what the top 3 ideas are and some suggestions about how to address them. So, and if your idea has already been said by somebody else, well, then you can say someone already said it, but then I'll come back to you at the end. I was hoping I could get a volunteer to take some notes. I will take notes as well, but Sharon, are you willing to take some notes for me?
I'm taking notes.
Great.
Melanie, are you feeling well enough to take some notes too?
Yeah, I can try to capture some things.
You're a good
Not
note
much for-
taker.
Not much for speaking, folks. I have a cold, so I may be coughing. I'll stay on mute.
Right. I'll watch the chat, Melanie, if you want to use chat.
Okay. All right. So just in order of where I see you on my screen, Irene, do you have an issue that you would like the league to consider in the next year?
Well, yeah, the redistricting stuff, I've told Nancy that I'll hang with it until 20, whatever. So that's what I'm going to be working on and my main commitment.
Okay. And yeah, and a priority for the league. Yeah.
What, the new constitution, Irene? The amendment to the constitution?
Yeah.
All right.
Jane, what issue is important to you this year?
Well, it's hard to choose, but I just came back from Olympia and there was a pretty amazing sign against the Vancouver School District election. So I'm like I think, I don't know if people have seen it, but it's pretty outrageous of what they're saying is happening in schools, in my opinion. So it's like, I don't know, election civility, I'll say.
Specifically school district election or?
Well, I mean, that's the one that's gonna be happening this year, but I think, and although that'll be open in February, so that's probably not a good one, but kind of like in public spaces, I mean, all the stuff happening at the library, but you know, this anti-district sign has things against books, and you know, the janitor that was arrested up at Alki, and I mean, like, yeah, the school board's doing that. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, there's one on 78th Street and Lakeshore. There's one on 99th and Lakeshore, and I don't know where the rest of them are around the district, but I'm sure if you live in Vancouver, you'll see them. But anyway, so I guess, yeah, civility in elections, because we'll have city council elections and stuff this year too.
Right. I'm very motivated this year with our candidate forums to see if we can counteract that, you know, for the K through 12 and the school board and everything.
Yeah.
So I do think between our candidate forums and any other forums that we have, that's a good place to put our energy.
That's a good match.
And Andrea.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, so I think I'm on the same page with everyone, and so on kind of a broad range of education campaign. I'd like to see us kind of keep a campaign against voter mitigation. I don't have any specific ideas. I think maybe candidate forum is a good idea. What's been disappointing to me, both here in Vancouver and in Georgia, as I've spent a lot of time in this year, is that, you know, the people who really need education are the people who don't read and who don't explore opportunities to become educated. So that I continue to kind of, you know, push around in my head on what can we do, you know, increasing social media, you know, trying to reach people through social media or other forums. But I do want to try to concentrate on voters' education, voters' rights, and particularly you know, campaigning against misinformation.
Right, I was going to say disinformation, misinformation. Sounds like it's really important for you, and yes, I think for the league. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anina? You can't hear you.
New to all of this, really. All these issues are critical, and it's really hard to know where, you know, my concern is that we get too spread out. And
well, we're brainstorming right now, so we're just kind of coming up with
and so they're all
possible, actually.
All really good issues. Of course, I'm concerned with women's rights and climate issues.
Okay, great. All right, we'll come back to specific ideas later. Volki, sorry.
Hi. We are mainly interested in healthcare and healthcare issues, and this year there is a lot of legislation going on right now that is, again, you know, just anti-women pretty much. You know, all the legislation points out that women are not capable of making their own decisions, and we don't have ability for that. So
there's other things.
Okay, go ahead, Alan.
In addition, there should be league support for Governor Inslee's amendment to the Constitution which would encapsulate Roe versus Wade and more in the Constitution. There should be support for the upcoming Pramila Jayapal enhanced Medicare for all legislation as it comes through in Congress, because that is fully supported by the National League of Women Voters as per the last convention. There should be support for enhanced behavioral health care at the state level, which has a relationship to
There's several.
homelessness. Yeah,
Yeah, there are several.
homelessness and drug addiction. There's legislation coming up on that. And all the pro-abortion legislation that's coming through in the legislature this season should
That'll
also
work.
be supported. We can give you the whole list because we're working on it now
Right, yeah, that's great, that's great.
for the committee.
Yeah.
That's another blog that everybody can sign up for, is the healthcare blog that Alan and Voki started. I've been enjoying that.
Thanks.
Thank
Send
you.
comments and send topics you'd like to see, because
Okay.
what we do is research. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Because you're on the Substack, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Melanie, do you have enough voice to give us an idea or an issue?
Or put it in chat.
Well, I've been racking my brain to think of something unique, and I haven't. So I think for me, I'm concerned with the misinformation and just lack of ethics. So I think just an understanding of, focus on, well, what is ethics, like calling it what it is. I don't know who would be educated to say that, but I'm concerned that our culture is getting blurring the lines and folks are losing touch of reality. There we go.
Thank you. Sharon?
Well, as many of you may or may not know, I'm a co-leader of Citizens Climate Lobby. So of course, climate is high on my list of things that I'm interested in, and I submitted a list of presenters or suggested presenters on various topics. Because I'm voter services chair and also on the candidate forums committee, and this we're teamed up with the civics committee. We're really going down the road of engaging young voters, energizing young voters, getting that information out, trying to get our foot in the door and do presentations at the high schools. And we're also, I also am very interested in in supporting the questions for the candidate forums for the school board. That will be my focus, because that's an area where I'm like, I don't know what the issues are. And I know that Teresa, she's gone to some of those school board meetings. She's been doing the observer reports. And so she knows that safety in the classroom is a big issue. That's one of the things they talk about the most during the Evergreen School District board meetings. And there's just a ton of things. One of the bills that's very interesting that's is a bill on a commission for equality for men and boys, because the statistics on our, as far as men, are the gap that's increasing between women and men in college, in mental, suicides. That's men and boys. Who's in prison? Boys, men and boys. So men are there. We really need to take a look at that, and some of the statistics are very concerning.
Okay, now lots of good ideas. I would, I see a bit of a theme of something I have a passion about, which is about reproductive rights. And while Washington has pretty good safeguards against protecting reproductive rights, Oregon is stronger, and according to the Guttmacher Institute. And I think that there's a lot we could do. And I am aided in the fact that Nancy sent us, several of us, an email yesterday from the San Juan League of Women Voters, has identified reproductive rights as a very high area of interest for them, looking at actual access, because in some counties, clinics and hospitals are, won't provide the services because of the religious exemptions. I'm not sure we can change that, but they suggested studying actual practice through the state by county. We're in pretty good shape. I did a little research in Clark County. We have even Planned Parent, as you all know, for uninsured patients. Legacy and Kaiser offer services for their patients, for their constituents, for their insured patients, I should say, or their members, depending on which system you're talking about. But at any rate, there is a lot to be done, I think, along those lines, and looking at the law and supporting this constitutional amendment. Another area I'm interested in is homelessness. I really, anybody who drives down I-5 or along through many of the parks sees a lot of homeless activity. I live downtown. I'm going to be a block away from the new Safe Stay community. It's going to be the third one in the city. I know no one exactly specifically in the city, but they have, I looked on their website and they have a pretty good program. And perhaps we could get a speaker, because this is something that we see it, sort of like the bridge. We know it's a problem in our community. What we should exactly do about it, I don't know, but I would like to be more informed. So anyhow, so we have a lot of issues. Thoughts from other people? Maybe you can use the raise hand function.
Alan?
Yes.
Yeah, so let me add something to the, so first, on the healthcare issue, we have an issue in the state of Washington, is that a full 50% of the facilities that offer healthcare refuse to offer healthcare for all reproductive rights or for death with dignity. That's a particularly abysmal situation, even though we have legislation. You can't get services in many areas. And we keep putting legislation up in the state to address that. We're having a hard time because most of the hospitals are being purchased by religious organizations who refuse to offer all services. Regarding homelessness, the reason you're seeing success over with the Safe Stay program is that the city of New York demonstrated this first by putting people in homes and then getting them social services. They find people are able to flip their lives around in about 30 days. Finland picked up that, Voki found that Finland picked up that study and did it nationwide.
And now they don't have any.
They don't have a homelessness issue anymore. Gone. They did this in just a couple of years by putting them in homes, getting them services. These people reconnected with families, got jobs, no homelessness. So this study came from the US, but we have a hard time implementing. So whatever support we can give this bunch, because this is the right answer. This is the one that works. So that was it for you. Amplify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other specific thoughts about ways that we could bring up some of these issues to the membership more broadly? I mean, ways to explore some of these issues specifically?
For example, do you know any speakers that
Right.
you know, like you would recommend? Sounds like, you know, I had the same idea as Mary that you know, homelessness doesn't, I'm very privileged. Homelessness doesn't touch my family. And so I'm very ignorant about that, you know, and I don't really understand it. Similar to the I-5 bridge, until that presentation was given, I was like, wow, that was awesome presentation.
Yeah. Well, there are good programs that, I don't know, I can't remember the organizations that's running the Stay Safe, but maybe it's someone, I mean, Share is doing that, had one of the, their facilities, I think it's a Share facility that's downtown.
Oh, the Share organization, right. The
Right.
Stay Safe is run by the city of Vancouver, as best I can figure.
Right, yeah, the city of Vancouver, but they hired someone, I mean, they just put the money, they just did the money and organized it. It's still being run by someone. And I'm trying to think of the one, but the city does have Jamie Spinelli, and she's a very good speaker. She spoke at Rotary, and she was working for a nonprofit, but I think she works for the city now. So, you know, Jaime and then Spinelli, like Spinelli. See if you can find her, Sharon, in the city of Vancouver. But I think she's their main person.
All right, I'll go and see if I can Google.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I neglected to do was to even look at the time. So I don't know how we're doing.
Excuse me? If I could get your attention?
Uh-oh, we don't have.
About at the 20-minute mark. I know that one group would like a few more minutes to discuss, and we need to also make sure that we remember to put down some specifics for our topic. So should it be a panel? Should it be a speaker? What should we do? Should we, organize a march, that type of thing. So what's the feeling? You want 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or more?
10.
10
over
Okay.
here.
11:10. Zoom, you okay with that?
Yes, we
All
want
right.
10.
11:10.
All right.
Oh.
It's 10:59 right now, so that gives us 11 minutes.
Right.
Alan, you have your hand up, but I was going to say, I think we could do I don't know how to kind of bunch it, but that kind of, and we are so good at voter education and, promoting participation, but, so put that education, disinformation, use the forums, energizing youth voters. That kind of seems like a bucket. And I don't know if we're supposed to narrow it down, but I think, can anything from getting more of us feeling comfortable doing the forums and, how do we now, maybe we have someone to help us promote our forums better, because, and I'm so glad we have CBTV, and I think a lot of people look at them, but I'd be interested to know. And then because most of the people that attend the forums, I feel like are there with the candidates. So they're not as informative to voters as I would like.
You'd want some metrics on how are they getting watched? Because I know that I used them, but maybe we need to do some more promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good bucket to put everything in, the forums, the voting issues, right? Is really what we're talking about. Information and voting, and including even young voters. So some metrics, yes. I mean, I would find it helpful certainly to have those that do these forums, because they're in the fall and early on it sounds really daunting to me to get involved.
Melanie's the candidate forum
right, the guru
co-chair with me, so she's taking notes.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a good group that does it.
Yes, we do. We have, Melanie and I are so spoiled. Awesome. Awesome.
A lot of experience goes way back. Yeah. I like that. Tying it all together, because really, the forums is all encompassing, because that's what we want to do, is educate the voters about things that matter to the voters, and get it straight from the horse's mouth to get the candidates to answer questions. So I wrote down a note here about maybe targeting youth voters to make them aware of the forums and get their eyeballs on it. I don't know how, but trying to do that, more outreach, so they would watch it. Or another brainstorm here is just reaching out. I loved how in the District 3 debate they had the newspaper reporters to ask the questions. So I mean, that's a lot of work and coordination, but there may be ways we could leverage that to get involvement of young voters, to say, here's a question from young voters, highlight that.
A lot of those journalists were pretty young.
Yeah,
Let me-
that's sort of.
Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. But
Both,
I
yeah.
wonder if the high school newspaper, is there a high school newspaper?
There are, but they're kind of more limited. I mean, well, I don't know some, but I was just thinking the get the college newspaper people to cover, and I think the other to do a college forum and just have it be supported by us, but youth driven or young adult driven. But the other thing I think is just to somehow also do some other ways besides a forum. And I don't, not a big social person, but allow candidates to have that, 1 or 2 minute little summary and put those on Instagram and, do some other things than a 45-minute forum, but other ways of putting that
I love
together.
that. Like this Energizing Young Voters, they put together, it's the New Jersey, a local league in New Jersey put together a student advisory group with kids that run from age, I think their youngest is 15 all the way to 29 for ideas for how to do that kind of engagement. And we also, at the last election season, I made good connections with the associated students at WSU. And so we just need to make more connections that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the ideas.
Okay, so that's probably our number one issue for next year. All these voting related issues and information and candidate forums. And it's an off-year election coming up, but we can gear up for 24, which will be a big year, very big year. Yeah.
But it's important, it's the city council elections and the school boards. I mean,
those are important elections too.
Yeah, people, those are the things that affect more people to me. That's why.
I wish more people voted in those elections. Yes. Yes. So, okay. And women's rights, reproductive rights, or am I just imposing my ideas on things?
No, I think that's
No?
I think we all want to understand more about the challenges to that. I'm no longer worried about my reproductive rights, but I do care about my daughters and my granddaughters and all of that stuff.
And, I don't know who's knowledgeable, but I understand there's a proposed constitutional amendment. There must be
another one
group that's working on it.
What's happening? Governor Inslee proposed it, and it provides support not just for reproductive rights, but for contraception.
Well, that's really important.
Yeah.
This is a particularly ugly piece of the law nationwide, because what's going on is you're getting lots of pieces of legislation proposed that sound good that actually limit women's rights. There's one in the State House now.
There's several.
Yeah, there's like 4 of them. 51, I think it's 5185 or 5172, I don't remember, that say, okay, abortion up to 24 weeks, but after that, we're going to have criminal penalties. Well, that changes the law, because what the law says right now is that the physician determines viability, and that varies from woman to woman. And it takes away the woman and the doctor's right to choose, and then inserts criminal penalties. You know what? Human bodies don't work that way, right?
That's right.
And legislators who know very little about medicine don't belong making rules about medicine, because they can't do it. The other one, there are some others where they demand that women maintain pregnancies that they don't want for a variety of fetal or genetic reasons. Really? Whose body is it? Anyway, there's a bunch of those.
And they are constantly throwing things like that all the time. You get this every time there's a new legislative in Washington. I'm surprised. Everybody is up in arms about it, yet there are this legislation is being introduced over and over again.
I
So-
wonder if we need a referendum or initiative and let the voters in the state of Washington vote like they did in Kansas, where the voters just said no. You know, we're not letting our crazy extremist legislators do it.
Right.
I have,
Yeah. Yeah, Nina.
I have an interesting, and, you know, I may be naive, but one of my thoughts is, where's the mandates, the legislation for men, the fathers of these children, that mandates that they are identified by DNA and legally responsible for whatever and whenever to the end. Instead, it just seems like it's all on women. And why are men not held accountable? So, okay, you're going to force this woman to carry perhaps a handicapped child, for instance, all
That's
by herself. And we know that women become even more poverty stricken and challenged and everything. And where's the fathers? Gone. If they had to be named and held accountable, how would that change?
That's a good point. There's along with that, if I can add to that, is there are about 40 some states. We wrote about it last week. I don't remember the exact number, but there are 40 some states that limit rights, and almost all states, almost all by custom, demand that if you go for permanent contraception.
Contraception, if it is like.
That's a name for like
Tubalagation.
hysterectomy or tubal ligation of any sort, reversible or not. A spouse has to be sign a consent form. There's no federal legislation that
We're
says that.
talking about a vasectomy too, right?
No, they don't do that. I don't think they have a
On the
good point.
vasectomy.
But
No.
for women, they demand that a spouse co-sign. And if you say that's not the law, the doctor will say that's the rules at our facility, and they get away with it.
Oh, huh.
You know, my daughter has lupus and she cannot, currently she's on a medication that she cannot be pregnant. If she gets pregnant at all, that
She'll miscarry.
that not only miscarriage, it's also threatens her life. So.
Okay, group,
Oops, our
Sorry.
10 minutes is up.
So
Yeah.
Alan, it's
time to wrap it up, unless you
Okay, Alan,
absolutely
it sounds
need
like
more
you're
time.
informed on this. Maybe you'd give us a talk.
I think I'm getting a sense that we're good to go.
So
I
what
need
if we,
to, I need
the
to-
election, reproductive rights and homelessness, and it can
Okay,
be our
so
three, and
what
we'll
we're
see
going
what
to do
happens
now
with the group.
is share with the group our top three, if you came up with three suggestions for what we should focus on. And if you would like to add a few things about, this was our top selection of an activity that we could do with this. And Sarah, if you would be so kind as to record all this. So I'm going to start with Zoom.
Oh, okay. So,
Who's ever going to report for Zoom? It might need to be Sharon, because she'll need to use the mic.
hold on,
okay, great.
Mary, go ahead and talk.
Okay, so yeah, we
Oops.
had many ideas proposed, and in the end,
Cannot hear Mary at all.
oh,
I need to change the, oops,
well, Sharon, you can talk. That's fine.
I went to
Turn the
headsets
microphone.
and
Sharon, why don't
Mary?
you-
not yet.
Can't hear her at all.
It still thinks I'm on the headset.
Okay, well, Sharon.
It's on this end, Mary. So
It's on your end. Okay, but Sharon, Sharon has the microphone. She could just tell you.
I just
do
need,
you want a few minutes, Sharon?
I just need to switch us to speak. All right,
Go ahead, Mary. Let's see if this
Okay, I'll
works.
try again. Okay, so we did come up with a three issue.
Just a
No,
minute.
no.
I'm not quite ready. I need to switch it to the TV. There we go. Now try.
Go ahead.
So we did come up with three top priority issues. Actually, there were many issues which were mentioned, but the first one has to do with voting, and that fills it's many issues involved in that, but especially focused on the voter forums because they do combat misinformation and disinformation, really talking about expanding those to include maybe college forums in 23 or 24. And that fits in with a theme of working to engage and energize young voters. So a whole basket of voting issues with the action items being mostly focused on the forums and expanding the forums to perhaps other venues to reach other groups of voters. The second one is women's rights, specifically reproductive rights. So Alan is particularly knowledgeable in our group about these issues. Washington has reasonably good protection of reproductive rights, but it could definitely be better. Apparently, Governor Inslee has proposed a constitutional amendment to support this. And we're not just talking abortion here, we're talking about access to contraception and other aspects of reproductive care, which are limited in a variety of hospital situations, in part because of religious exemptions. So we didn't really come up with a specific idea for something to do, but Alan seems really well informed, and I think we would all benefit
television
hearing from him.
Okay, while we're waiting for that, I think we'll go to another table. So how about this table here? Who's our speaker?
Mary, we lost our video on the television.
Testing. Okay.
Can you still hear?
Number one on our list was alternative fuels. And this was a program item, is that correct? Because we have a resource of several speakers, both nationally and locally, that could do a presentation.
Go ahead.
Okay. Second of all, we labeled it civics obligations, and we narrowed that to the question, does the League of Women Voters curriculum address the idea of that it's an obligation to be informed about how your government works and how the economy works, how tax policy works and affects infrastructure, and how our community works.
Well, do they teach civic obligation in school along with your rights? Their obligations as being a citizen. Right. So we wondered if these does League's teachings on that does our study on that include that, the fact that we have a civic obligation as well as civic rights?
And lastly was the reality of student homelessness and limiting it to the local community, this area, and as a study to maybe understand what's going on locally, that we assume it's pretty complex, but just because it's complex, can we understand what all those components are? So that was, I would do it. Okay.
Okay, can we go back to?
Mary, we got our television back.
Okay. You're blank again. You're dark again.
Oh, our TV, we're having problems with the TV.
It's okay.
I don't know why.
Can you hear my voice?
Okay.
Cover all the matters. You don't have
All
to.
right, let's go to back here. Oh, you have it?
That is just so weird. Cause it might be a bad HDMI cable. Mary, go ahead and try.
Okay, so I'm not sure where I was when we lost, but about the reproductive rights, access to contraception, access to abortion, and Governor Inslee's proposed constitutional amendment to support all of these rights. And Alan Vokey seem to be particularly well informed on this, so it's potential that they could give us an informative talk if they'd be willing to do so, although I didn't have a chance to ask them directly. And then our third topic is homelessness, not just in students, but in all people. A program of the City of Vancouver, the Safe Stay communities that are being developed. And actually, if you look at the City of Vancouver website, they have quite a number of programs. And Jane gave us the name of a possible speaker, Jamie Spinelli from the city, who I think could give us sounds like a very good presentation about homelessness that we see everywhere, especially if you drive down the freeway. So those are our ideas: voting, women's reproductive rights, and homelessness, in that order.
Thank you. Okay, now let's go to the back. Who is speaking here?
Can anyone hear me through the mask? Hello, okay. Okay, so our three issues are, these kind of have a lot here. Education about elections and media literacy, the Growth Management Act, and in that is kind of, we talked about land use, money in politics, and homelessness along with that, and then increasing turnout among young voters. So with education, hold on, sorry. With education about elections and media literacy, we kind of got into, I mean, everything that has happened in the past several years. There's so much there, but we wanted to talk more about how to get people to see us as a trustworthy source for information about elections. And then we got into a conversation about how to kind of break into people's silos about what is a trustworthy source, about news in general, about facts. And like, that's a huge topic and we're not sure we can really touch that, but maybe we can try a little. And how would that look? And we got talking about that and we ran out of time. And we also talked about the Growth Management Act and how can we talk about that in a way that gets, you know, the regular person interested in how much it affects them, because it's kind of a, you know, it's a topic that maybe a lot of people don't know much about, but it affects a lot of people in a big way. And so we talked about how to make that reachable and interesting to, you know, the regular county resident. And we talked about adding in angles like, you know, money in politics and how it's increasing maybe homelessness and that kind of thing, how it's affecting development and zoning. And then the last one, increasing turnout among young voters. That's kind of just a big one that we've talked about a lot, but we thought it was important. Okay.
Thank you. So our three, let's see, look at my notes. Yeah, I mean, comprehensive land use planning, both act and all the things that come around there. And we talk education. How do we simplify this huge and complex topic so that people can understand it? What are the components? And maybe like a panelist with people from the various cities talk about where they're at and where they're going, especially given the 2-year time frame for the next comp plan for everybody. Voting, ranked choice voting forum, talk about schools, the election observers and their relationship with the auditor, turnout, and then the next topic was civility, and that ties back to voting. Our observer corps, we have noticed when we are there at the meetings, that seems to help. Thinking about civility in all the forums and panels that we do, that is that's an underlying thing. And some of the other stuff were kind of more specific to things, but thinking about that was an observer corps thing. Observation we'll worry about later. What else do we have on civility? What can we do? Oh, we talked about these braver angels. And I don't know, does somebody know enough about that to explain it? Braver angels. I don't remember who brought that up.
I brought up the Braver Angels, and that is a possibility for, if we adopt something like civility, yeah, civility, that's something that we can explore. So let's see, we have one more. Just two.
Thank you. So our top three, well, first of all, I can say we touched on a lot of the other topics that everyone else had. We touched on a lot of the other topics that others discussed today, like energy and women's health care. Our top three were civility and government. And we talked about developing a program with the target audience of 18 to 29-year-olds, and particularly, and in one place using it in like part of the library's Adulting 101 program, although we could all use that, an Adulting 101 program in terms of civility. The other thing we talked about was training advocates for the homelessness or houselessness to help those people actually walk through the process of how they can get tools and resources. Some people discussed how they know some people who have had trouble finding what are the resources. So finding advocates to help them walk through that. And then developing a voting 101 program that goes as simple as how to fill out a ballot, what an ex-felon needs to know about voting, and how to advocate for your particular positions. So more tools for people, but starting at a 101. That could be both for adults through the library as well as the Adulting 101 program. You all said a mouthful. You all said a mouthful. Thoughts, impressions after hearing everything? Anybody on Zoom? Something stick up that you go, yes, want to do this? Well, homelessness came up. Homelessness and civility came up with almost every group without any of us talking, talking between tables. So obviously that's huge. And then land use is also, something that touches on everyday life. But if we were going to do something locally, this civility / civics and homelessness obviously is affecting all of us. Just a second.
Also, voting seems to be a theme throughout the Zoom in the building. I had a question of how we go from, we do seem to have a couple of top issues, but there are also several other important issues. How do we prioritize? So I'm just throwing that question.
Can I speak, Mary?
My name is Rick Hale. I'm a little bit new. Sally Hale, you might know, is my wife. We talked about a few things that I'm going to come at it from a little bit of a primitive angle, a little bit, just a League of Women Voters, and stay right off that we have to, I think, maintain the nonpartisan look at all costs. I think this is something that came up last election. They thought that this group was advocating in one way or the other. Just from my simple first take on this, we got to stay away from that entirely. And so I think advocating for anything other than just getting voters might be a little difficult. The idea about having the forums on college campuses, I think, is wonderful. It kills two birds with one stone easily. Get the kids involved, get them into voting, and teach them how to think critically. This is something we talked about over here. How to break it into silos, I thought was very important. How do you get somebody who's so entrenched in their idea to think about something a little bit different? Education, I think, is what this group needs to really, really do. It's just me. But you know what I'm saying? Okay, that's thanks.
Thank you. And now we have someone on Zoom.
Oh, hi. I was just gonna do a chat. When I heard the piece about homelessness, what I thought was, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
There seems to be a focus on youth. I heard that from most of the groups. And if you're going to choose a topic, I would choose one that would be attractive to young people. Whatever the number one thing is, specify it to something that they're interested in. I don't know which one to choose, but when I heard homelessness, I thought there's a portion of young people who are homeless, absolutely, especially children in the LGBTQ group. But I don't think they'd get all worked up about that. I don't know which one they would, but just a thought.
Thank you, Irene. Joe, and then
Yeah, I really appreciated that comment, and I agree about youth issues, marginalized communities and housing, but also seniors. We're being priced out of housing, and sometimes also the issues of how different communities develop their land and access to transportation and services. So a lot of these things are really melded, joined together.
thanks, Joe.
I think something that's people haven't brought up very much is anything about diversity, which Macy actually brought up to me, which I think that's probably not even the right word, but I think if we're talking about election access to the vote, a huge dimension to that is like voter ID laws, and a lot of the resistance to voting access is based on race in the United States. And so if we're going to talk about that, we have to at least at some point mention that. And so I think that probably has to be part of the conversation if we're going to talk about voting access and voting restrictions. There's a case in going to the Supreme Court, I think it went recently, Making case that's going to reshape the Voting Rights Act. So I don't know, I think we have to at least bring that up at some point if we're going to talk about voting rights.
Jackie?
Thinking about equity, actually, and civility, they kind of need to be threads underlying everything we do. Because like land use, Francis Clark County did a thing on equity in land use. Because if you think about a lot of zoning laws, they existed originally to protect wealthy white neighborhoods and keep everyone else out. And so yeah, equity in land use is definitely important. Equity in voting and in elections is really, really important. So it kind of underlies across all our other topics.
Thank you for all of the feedback. I want to talk a little bit about what Rick brought up. This is sometimes a conundrum for the League of Women Voters in all localities. We are the League of Women Voters, so naturally we are going to be concerned with voting and everything around voting, which there's so many different subsets. When we get into social issues like homelessness, land use, then it needs to be where we are working on a study or we have a position. There's already been a study. And then there's a little bit of an avenue that we can walk on, and that's called education. So educating our voters, educating ourselves is where we have a lot of leeway in bringing in other topics where we can get education. So since I was at that table, I will use an example of that table. This is, it had to do with the comp plan of having a panel of officials, say city council members, from the different cities in Clark County. So Washougal, Camas, Richfield, Vancouver. We could even go, called Amboy, to educate us about what is going on in their communities and what they would like to see in their communities. So that's a twofold or maybe threefold. We're getting educated on those communities, and we're also letting Clark County know that the League of Women Voters is not just Vancouver. It's a way of expanding knowledge about the League and about League members getting educated about their local community. Now that example can be used in a lot of different areas, but Rick is correct that the League of Women Voters focuses on voting, voting rights, citizens, you know, the ability to have the knowledge, how does that phrase go? To have the knowledge, the desire, and the ability to vote, okay? So I do believe that that needs to be our first priority, and voting rights and access to voting and educating voters, particularly focusing on the youth. That seemed to be something that we heard from an awful lot of people today. Is there agreement on that? Okay. And a homeless youth is going to have a heck of a lot more difficult time having access to voting and getting information about voting. So that's a way to tie in that topic. Okay. So that might be something that we can explore when we decide on our main topics. Also, you know, if something isn't chosen or your event isn't chosen, we have a radio program. We have a monthly radio program that can focus on a lot of different things. We have civics programs at the library, and they can focus on a great many things. Ranked choice voting, if that's something that we really want to push, we could have a community forum on that. We have had a community forum at Heathen Brewing on climate change with guest speakers. So there's a number of different things that we can do to bring in more social issues or more issues that may not appear to be voter services. Any questions on that? Any disagreements? Tracy.
As a member of the very tiny civics subcommittee, along with Mary Schick, who is the principal person doing work with our youth, please join the civics committee. These are such good ideas. It's not as easy to get into the schools as some of you may think. So we need help. And these are such great ideas.
Thanks, Tracy. And as far as getting into the schools, the civics committee has made a couple inroads, and Sarah was just talking to me before the meeting about some real successes that have the potential to really enlarge our scope of reaching the youth. So this is in the beginning stages, but it's very, very positive. We're really excited about that. And these are inroads that we haven't had in a very long time. So very excited about that. Okay, back to the issues at hand. Okay, so we have voting, voter services. I don't know what we want. We could call it voter services. We could just call it voting. We could, voting, elections. That seems to be of importance. Any discussion on that? Okay. Civility in government, civility amongst us. Civility can be an overriding umbrella, that we address civility in what we do and what we present. And I know the Observer Corps is always watching for civility. So that can be something that is, it's just something in the back of our mind or the front of our mind when we are doing things. We are approaching it from a civility standpoint, and we are looking out for civility. And when we are talking, we can certainly bring that up, or would you rather have a whole separate program on civility? Thoughts?
I think a program on civility, particularly for young people. However, if you can get it into the schools, there's a lot of teaching that can be done as how you have a conversation with somebody you do not agree with. I think if you provided that kind of information for the students, they perhaps could educate their parents a little bit, that it would be in all of our best interests.
That's a very good point, and I believe that there were some parents in a couple school boards that could have definitely used influence from their kids. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. We have access to an organization that could certainly do some training on that. Bear with me, or I will forget this. Okay, the next one was, do we want to make homelessness a major one, or do we want to just incorporate it into work with youth? Homelessness is a huge, huge topic, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, this is what we're focused on, this is one of our top 3, but we could certainly have the speaker in from the Stay Safe communities to come talk. I mean, that's a definite possibility. Thoughts?
Thank you, Nancy. I believe absolutely that homelessness is a top issue, and to me comes under a broader category of what leads to homelessness, affordable housing, and addressing some of the issues that lead to affordable housing and equity in housing opportunity, which also goes to the planning, city, county planning.
Okay, Deanne?
I have to leave, but I wanted to point out that in this morning's Columbian, the executive editor, Craig Brown, wrote about goal setting. And he said that he'd like to see the Columbian newsroom identify and report a really important, critical, challenging story that will help define our role as a guardian and watchdog of the community. It may be housing, it may be investigative, but I'd like to see us take on a big challenge and succeed. The project would include multimedia reporting and community involvement, such as a forum or public presentation. I'm not sure what the story will be yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if at least part of it looks at how a decade-long rapid acceleration in housing prices can be linked to homelessness and social inequity. So all the topics that we're working on or talking about, I think really have value, have real merit. I'm really hoping we can think seriously about the venue of, I know we have to be careful about partnerships, but of working with another organization or agency or effort to really get that out to the community. And yeah, with my interest and Sally's interest in newspapers, this seems like a real natural, maybe to forge some associations.
Thanks for pointing that out. So we have obviously voting. We're still in a little gray area, I sense, on the homelessness and how to really address that and whether it should be a subset. We also talked about the comp plan. A few tables, not everybody brought up the comp plan, and that does follow with the land use study that was started a couple of years ago. It has ebbed and flowed. Right now it's in an ebb. But there are members who are definitely interested in that subject. And as Jackie pointed out, equity is a huge thing, and density is huge. And you know, having some information on the upcoming comp plan, since it will affect all of our neighborhoods. It will, Judy.
We keep talking in general about the grant, the comprehensive plan for Clark County and its cities. And it is made up, if you haven't ever taken a look at it, it's made up of a series of elements. And the elements include various things in the, that are part of how we grow as a community. And one of those elements is housing. And I would think it would be a really good place for us to plug in particular, as we look at housing in terms of housing affordability as well as housing availability. So homelessness does fit into the comp plan and how we plan our communities and how the cities make their own plans. So it does fold in. So I think we would still reach homelessness if we're looking at the comprehensive way that we grow.
I do agree on that, simply because of my experience with the Observer Corps and watching how different cities are working on the comp plan and the differences in their focus. So I believe that is very, very important to us. And, an interesting thing about land use is it's never important until it's in your backyard. And that's unfortunate, because if it's in someone else's backyard, it can certainly happen in your backyard. And once it happens, you're toast. Okay, you need to be proactive and preventative when it comes to land use. So if you have any concerns about that, Jackie would be an excellent resource to talk about that. But back to things that you want your leadership team to focus on, Jackie?
Yes, I am obsessed. One thing that's part of the county comp plan is a thing called a Growing Healthier report. It was in the last one, and then it was suppressed by a certain former county councilor. And I believe they're working on updating it again. And that ties to homelessness, it ties to equity, ties to health, and it's going to be a major part of the upcoming comp plan. So I'll try to stay on top of that for everybody, but that, it does, again, ties all these things together.
I have read that healthy report from years ago. It's fabulous. And if our county had followed that, we would look a lot different than we do today. So yeah, it's fabulous. All right, so some things, let's see. We had civility and government, homelessness, voting. We had comp plan, voting, civility. We had alternative fuels, civics obligations, student homelessness. We had voter focusing on the candidate forums. We had women's reproductive issues, homelessness, and we had land use, the comp plan, information on voting, and young voters. So there is definitely a theme here. So if someone has some really nice wording that they would like to summarize, I am open to that. Anybody on Zoom want to put their 2 cents in?
Oh, Irene, Andrea had to leave, and Irene Finley provided a link to a YouTube video on homelessness in Vancouver, BC, that definitely addresses the importance of safe housing. And Irene also thinks that young people would be most motivated by reproductive and contraceptive rights, which would get to voting information.
Okay, this still doesn't help me with some wording. Or I'm going to call on somebody, somebody that I know that's been pretty good at writing. I wonder who that could be.
I'm trying to take a look at where the majority is, and voting was addressed, every single one. And basically the youth vote like we talked about. I think where civility came up often in this as well. What I think we need to do is what we've all been kind of talking around a bit is what is the umbrella? Voting is one topic, but what is the umbrella? Should it be homelessness? Should it be land use leading to homelessness? Is it civility in government, which would possibly address everything? So as far as breaking it down into topics, specific topics, it's how we want to break them down.
Those are great questions. Any answers? Well, you know, if we can't move past this point, the next membership meetings will be social hours. You know, that's it. No, you want the social hours? No, I am very serious. I'm very serious. Your leadership team, your committee chairs need direction. And we cannot do it all, nor do we want to do it all. Well, we have to identify what exactly is the topic. Yeah. We're going to, I mean, I'm fine with 4 topics. I don't know how many we'll get to. There are 12 months. One is an annual meeting. One is a birthday. One is a picnic. So that's 9 months. And there are some leagues that work on 1 issue all year. There are some leagues that work on 2 issues. I just sent to the moderators something from the San Juan League, and they're working on 2 issues for the year. Tacoma Piers focuses on homelessness. That's their major one, homelessness and climate change. So it's how you all would like to do this.
I'm just gonna make a suggestion that maybe we start at the top of the list and everybody raise hands, and then we can figure out which ones the most hands are up, and I'll monitor the Zoom for that. And wherever there's the most hands, those things are the ones we take out of this meeting. What do you think? Sure, we're not going to forget anything.
It seems like addressing youth is what we want, and that's important for the growth of our league too, you know, the league having young people come. But it can be, we can address, like somebody said, homelessness with the youth. We can address civility. You know, I think youth is, that's my idea. I think youth is the main topic.
Well, and the other caveat is if you put your hands up, you have to be willing to work on it. So don't put your hands up unless you would come to a meeting if we had a presentation for it, and or you would work on that, because we need volunteers and many hands make light work. So keep your hand down if you're like, no, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's important to know. Okay. Voter services, voter rights, elections, youth in voting. You can vote for more than one.
I have
14. I get 14.
I have 3.
So 17. Here it is. Sorry about that. Civility as a separate topic. Okay. Any from Zoom?
We have 1.
Okay. All right. Comp plan as a broad topic. The comp plan.
The comprehensive plan, right?
Comp plan, which incorporates Growth Management Act, but there's all sorts of aspects to the comp plan.
Melanie, your hand's up. Or you still want it up?
Yeah, sorry. How many?
We have 3 over here.
How many?
3. Sarah's going to be the human calculator.
Homelessness as a separate topic. How many on Zoom?
1. Oh, 2 plus me.
There were 3 last. 1, 2. Could we vote again for homelessness as a separate topic? Three on Zoom.
3, and I'm part of the Zoom group, so that.
Yeah. Let's see. We had alternative fuels. Okay. We had the civics obligations as a separate topic. Did I cover them all?
No.
What?
Did we voted on homelessness, right? Land use.
Voting.
Oh, but you listed some other things, right?
But yeah, women's reproductive
rights.
Right.
Oh, yes, women's reproductive rights as a separate topic.
We have 4 over here. 5.
6.
We're unanimous over here.
So how many?
6.
6? Oh, I came up with 13 on that. Okay. All right, I'll recap these. Voting 17. Civility. Sorry. Civility 3. Fuels 1. Comp plan 13. Homelessness 8. Civics 4. Reproductive rights 13. So the top 3 are voting, comp plan, land use, and reproductive rights. Understanding that that incorporating civility is important to it's important to incorporate in all of them, and that homelessness can be addressed in a number of different areas, focusing on youth. That seems to be the emphasis of the group, is to wherever we can to focus on youth. And if we are dealing with the comp plan, homelessness, did I just read it? Voting and comp plan, we can address the youth and we can address homelessness. Okay.
On the women's, is it women's reproductive rights or just women's rights?
Women's reproductive rights.
Women's reproductive rights. Okay.
Including contraception.
Including contraception. Okay, any thoughts, objections?
Nope.
What I do hear over, like you said, homelessness brought up, so as long as we can, I think that can be close, so. As you said, food, sure.
Right. One of the ideas that other leagues have done that incorporates voting and those that may be homeless, the information sheets that have gone into food bank boxes and bags, so that everyone who picks one up gets information on general voting, gets information on an election if it's that time of year, gets information on different services around that type of thing. And we can certainly, we can certainly have ask Jamie Spinelli to come in and discuss homelessness with an emphasis on youth and the resources. I mean, that question came up about what are the resources? And there was an article in either today's paper or yesterday's paper, since we get our paper whenever the post office delivers it, on the resources are more limited now, and the information on the resources is more limited. So those are all challenges, but I could go on and on about different subjects, but we've been here a while, and I greatly appreciate everyone's work on this. It's not easy. It's just not easy. There's so many things that are important, and we need to keep, overall we do need to keep our empowering voters, defending democracy. So whatever we do, that needs to be our focus. Is what we are doing empowering voters and defending democracy? And of course, empowering voters is all about education, I believe, and defending democracy.
And access.
Thanks.
Access.
Yes, access. Empowering voter, yeah, and defending democracy. Well, civility is huge on that. And defending democracy is equity. And housing comes under that. We want our citizens to have access to at least the basics. And so many people don't. I mean, they just do not have the access to, they don't have an access to a nice warm building like we do. So I need to get off my soapbox, sorry.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's so easy to go there. Yeah. So if there are no further comments, questions, or suggestions or announcements.
Nope.
Okay, I would consider us adjourned. And for those of you here in this building, I do need some help for cleanup. Would greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to help with the birthday party, I have a list of names, and it's, it's pretty simple, but it involves bringing a dish and then set up and clean up, but it's pretty easy. So we are adjourned.
Thank you, guys. You were wonderful.
Thanks, Sharon, for working with all of us. Is the birthday party just the regular meeting in February?
Yes.
Yes, and it's gonna be a little bit earlier because it's gonna be a brunch.
Okay,
So what
yeah,
time?
be clear, because even the reminder yesterday is the meeting's on Saturday, but it didn't say the time. And, I went and looked and I thought, well, it's probably 10, but we should be sure that everything has the date, time.
Yes.
And location by address too, I guess, because
Yes.
I didn't realize there's another CDM.
It's probably in the voter, but but we just get crazy busy, and it's
Yeah.
the beginning
When
of
you
the
get a
year.
reminder though, it's just nice to have it all in one spot, but good to see everyone.
Okay, it was wonderful seeing you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Sharon. Bye-bye.
Don't forget the sale on these signs.
I actually have 2 people in here that want signs.
I got one.
So we got a couple of commitments over here, Mary, for signs. Irene and Nina. Did I see that in the chat?
I already have mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm just gonna save the chat because I know that Irene wanted one and Andrea wants one. Okay, good.
And the meeting you said is earlier. How much earlier next month?
I think it starts at 9. It starts at 9, but,
Okay.
but check the voter, it'll have all the specifics.
Will
when it
do.
comes out the end of this month.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Um,